Hello, bin lords. Welcome to Grondon. May I interest you in a pint of dross, by which I mean this pod, which I spaff now into your mind hole. It goes by the name of 3T and involves one idiot, one moron, and one fuckwit. These people are me, Harrison Hunt, and him, Sean Hunt.
Yo.
And him, James Clark. And if you're unable to gather, this is an RPG podcast all about tabletop RPGs. We've got some segments, we've got some negments.
Yes.
But we got News Punch, we got Were You Slaying. We're going to do the main subject, which is going to be the Final Fantasy XIV RPG is actually quite good, even if you're not a weeb. It's a bit of a long title. I'm going to try and condense it. But
it's a good title.
I heard something about segments. We have an half-time oranges.
No.
Oh, okay. That's a shame.
And then we've got Dragon or Blaggin. We got another new item involving my son, and then we're going to do some electro letters. Does that sound like funge?
It does.
Your son is out at the moment.
I pre-recorded it, Sean. Sorry, that was very immature. I
No,
apologize.
that was exactly.
Should we do some news?
Oh yeah, News Punch.
Critical Role releases RPG. So Matt Mercilla is a talent. It's me, Matt Mercilla.
Look at my gigantic face.
Is a talentless idiot, and as we well know,
It's not. He's done a couple of good voice gigs.
go on.
Go on. Go on.
There was one in.
Go on.
What's that? Ranking the Kings. He was good in that. I can't remember who he was, but I was like, that was Matt Mercer.
Forgetful.
That was alright.
What about that fucking stupid video that was circulating online where it's like how Matt Mercer found out he was playing Vincent in Final Fantasy VII? And it's like, he turns up and they're like, okay, you're going to get you to do some additional voices. We'll show a picture of the character on screen, and this is who you're going to be playing. And then Vincent comes up on the screen. He's like, but that never would have been the way they told him, right?
No way.
Because imagine turning up to a gig and they said, right, you're going to be doing a couple of background NPCs. You'll be doing it for about a week. Oh no, you're actually doing a main character with a script about the size, about a foot thick, and it's so dumb.
You'll be on in 30 minutes.
So he's like, I was so pleased to find out I was playing Vincent. It's like, that is never, ever how it works, and that's definitely fake. But it proved to me he was a bad actor, because you can tell. Anyway, talentless idiots make up about 99% of the people putting out RPGs today, so why not throw another one onto the pile? And that's right, Matt Mercer's making an RPG set to release in spring 2025, and it goes by the name Daggerheart. Now, what's interesting what's interesting is everywhere I look, this is being produced by Darrington Press, which is Critical Role's publishing wing, right? And Matt Mercer's name is all over it. And in their live stream beta test, Matt Mercer talked constantly about developing the product, making it the best it could be, and so on and so on. And he's been very public about how he's making the game and developing it. The truth of the matter is it's actually being designed and developed by a bloke called Spencer Stark, who is responsible for the silent role-playing game Alice is Missing, right? So this is the guy who's actually making the game. But publicly, Critical Role are like, we're really proud of this. We're making this great game. We're doing great things.
They've done nothing, though.
Their publishing company hired somebody to make it, and they're playtesting it. That's what it is.
Oh.
And now, it's my understanding that Darrington Press hired him to work on it, but in other than a few very minor sources, it's being touted as Matt Mercer's new game or Critical Role's new game.
So lame, though.
I wonder if Matt Mercer's actually wrote anything then, in that case.
Yeah, no, he does. He writes the really shitty descriptions where he's like, this is where our story begins. It is a dewy day on the moors. But that's about it. He does write his D&D games, I imagine.
Oh yeah, he does that, but like
It's an AI to do it.
all the D&D books that he's said he's wrote and his names in
we should dig into this, because it's like it's probably not.
Yeah.
Right? Because his name doesn't actually appear on the cover of any of them, so it's like he can't really go that far. But I reckon he does sort of make it seem as if he's responsible. You know what I mean?
I would love to take Matt Mercer down.
Well, like just like hit him.
Like a rugby tackle. Or like.
Well, why don't we just go
more of a.
Do you guys remember the era of YouTube where they called it Internet Blood Sport, where it was just people? The idea was that it was people trolling each other for sport, like, and what they would do is they'd accuse each other of the wildest shit in order to destroy that person's life. It was like
That's awful.
What?
It's terrible, but they all bought into it because there were a lot of views to be had within it. So my point is that back then, all you needed to do is to take someone down was accuse them of being a paedophile. So Sean, do you want to do that now for Matt Mercer?
Matt Mercer. No, I won't say that.
Do you know what I don't?
He did definitely not say "excuse me" in the supermarket when an old lady was like he didn't get something off the top shelf for an old lady. I'm going to say that about him.
You expect me to get something off the top shelf? I'm the biggest celebrity in the entire world. No, but I tell you what, I'm never gonna. Obviously, he's not a paedophile. Well, we don't know, do we?
We don't know.
I don't know. He may have connection to P.
So
Diddy.
it might be.
There are pictures of him with P. Diddy, and I'm not saying he broke.
He might not have been at the after parties. He might have just been at the regular
He
ones.
just went for one drink, all right? That's it.
One drink.
And then woke up 2 days later.
Woke up 2 days later, very sore, and crying.
What were we talking about?
Sorry,
again?
this is horrible. Anyway, the product is overseen by Matt Mercer, so I sort of do get what he's going on about here. But you know, like when Dunkey released Animalware recently, and he's a big name YouTuber that started a publishing company for video games, but his whole thing was beefing up the creators. So his first game that he released, he was like, the person that's doing it is doing great things. I can't wait to publish it for him.
Yeah.
Not like what Matt Mercer is doing.
Yeah, using his name for good, basically.
Yeah, and he put the guy in all the trailers and all this stuff. But anyway,
Well, I don't watch many
It was
YouTube.
quite a success as well. So
I don't watch many gaming YouTube related stuff, but Donkey stuff's always been like awesome.
it's the best.
yeah, everyone loves Donkey. Yeah, watching his vids.
As for the product, right? I'll go into a little bit here. So Daggerheart, it's quite funny. It describes itself as rules light, but it's 300 pages long. I mean, it might still be rules light, but I just found that amusing. So what we know about the game is it's an attempt to find a midway point between more open story game type of games like PTBA and something like 5e. And it uses a D12 system, 2D12 system rather than a D20, which is, whatever, it doesn't really matter. The skill resolution is roughly the same as D&D, except crits now occur when you get both the same result on both dice, basically.
That's more difficult, yeah?
Well, it is, but what they're saying is the reason they went for 2D12s instead of D20s is because it tends towards the middle numbers, more, so people will succeed more often. Which I don't know if...
Yeah, because the lower the number, the higher the
cocky.
probability.
Yeah.
Failure is good for a man, I think.
I agree, but they're just saying that they've had sessions where it's been 12 hours of missing, and bear in mind it's their job to live stream it, so I can sort of understand why people don't want to watch that. But, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But the cool thing about it is that each D12 is different, right? So you have two different coloured ones. The one's the fear one, and the other one is the hope one. So every time you roll, if the higher one is the fear dice, if the higher one is your hope dice, you get 1 point of hope, which is a resource you can use for various things like re-rolling an attack or some ability-specific ones. You know, like how in Savage Worlds you have ones that are like spend a penny to find an item that you need.
Yeah,
so you can use hope points for things like
scavenge, that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's other specific ones that are specific to jobs. And there's one where 2 players can spend a hope point to do max damage tag team attack together, which is kind of cool. And the reason I say this, and the reason I'm not ragging on it, is because it's not actually it's a Critical Role product. It's made by this other guy, and I think he's doing interesting stuff. But what happens if you roll higher on the fear dice? Well, then you get a consequence for the action you just took, even if you succeed. So if your fear dice is higher, you might successfully stealth past the card, but now you've some evidence behind, like a footprint or something. Another feature of the game is largely card based, and this is where you guys are going to shit the bed basically. Basically, the box set, which is only £60, right, comes with 270 cards, and these have spells, race, classes, backgrounds. And instead, your sheet is instead of being something you write on, you just put the cards in the relevant spaces. So it's almost like a play mat sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. That I think it's quite cool.
I understand it because the 5e. I think he obviously loves 5e because they've got so much add-ons, and I know someone who I work with who has all the cards. They're really useful, specifically for newbies or people who I love collecting shit.
I think for players as well, just bringing the druid deck to a game is very acceptable.
It's nice to have the option and to not, because it makes it seem restricted if you're restricted to putting cards in spaces all the time.
But then it does mean you don't have to. So you take the card for warrior, right? Your class. You just stick it on there. And it tells you all of your abilities. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's easier then. So you could if you die, then instead of rewriting a whole new character, you could choose your
and then
class or whatever and slap that down.
It's handy, but it's not actually a gameplay mechanic, is it? It's just
it's a reference material.
Yeah, it's a reference material. Now, let's say there's one big problem though, and this is where you guys are going to you'll understand why this is not going to be worth buying. So let's say, right, I buy the box set. £60 for all those cards and the book is really fucking good. But let's say I buy the box set, right, and I bring it to the table day one. Let's say, James, you want to play an elf. I give you the elf card. Sean, you're like, oh, what if we were brothers? I'll play an elf.
No.
So each player needs to buy the box set. So there we go.
Unless you specifically always have a diverse and split party for everything.
Well, that's just it, isn't it? So now
it does force people down that route.
But then that's restraining everyone at the table. And can you consider, so for a 5-person group, just the base sort of entry to play it in the best possible way is £300. Right?
Matt Mercer punted a child.
Cunted. He's... right, now consider when we played our GURPS game, right, which is very good and is a very good system, we all chipped in a tenner because the book's together with £50.
Yeah, we did. It's a lot of money.
So everyone paid a tenner.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if I sat down, let's say, for example, so Rob and Katie, two of my mates that don't play RPGs that often, have expressed a want to come and play... with us some more now that they're down here. Can you imagine if I said, yeah, we're going to be playing Daggerheart, cough up £60? You might not like it, but we'll wait and see. So anyway, the game could be the best RPG in the world ever, but they fucked it. So fuck them. Fuck you. Fuck off.
Or maybe they've got auxiliary cards that you can just buy and.
Well, that's what I thought, because you should just be able to buy a deck on its own, but you can't. You have to get the box set. It's either the box set or the deluxe box
later.
Set. Yeah, they would have to, I think. To make the game playable, they would have to.
But also, surely... So can't you just have... Right, wait a second. You're restricted to just cards. You don't have a character sheet you could...
There's also no... just where you can just buy the book. I'm sure somebody will homebrew a character sheet where you can just write the entries on, because then it solves the problem.
And but then what was the point? To traditional RPG.
Do you think you'll get support from people because it's Matt Mercer product?
Well, I think this is part of it as well. So they wanted to sort of premiumize the product so that they could charge extra. I think that's part of it, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it's not a terrible idea, and actually the game sounds quite good, which was surprising to me. But I think the reason is because generally things are a lot better when Matt Mercer's done nothing towards them, and this is one of those examples.
I definitely think that they're trying to cash in on the whole 5e hype of D&D, like peripherals and accessories that you can get by making those accessories
a cool
mandatory.
Part. Yeah.
Like you have to get the accessories, and then the only way to play it with more people is they need to also get the accessories. Whereas traditional D&D, you don't need any accessories whatsoever. You just need brains and a character sheet that you can print.
There's that certain type of person though that they just play D&D. So when we talk about their money going on the hobby, it's just extra D&D stuff and accessories. So maybe they're after that crowd, and a lot of Critical Role people tend to be that. I just think it's scummy to make them pay for it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and also, Matt Mercer dresses a lot younger than he is, which is a thing that a very certain type of person does, isn't it? Like a certain diddly, fun diddly diddly. Anyway, so that's Daggerheart. We'll probably check it out when it comes out, right? Spring 2025. Yes, we will.
Wait a
minute. We should say, right? We are back. We should have mentioned this. We're back because something interesting has happened. We said the last episode that as soon as we stopped recording the episode about the industry being less interesting now, 2 interesting things happened. First of all, this subject of the episode, obviously, is one of them. Second one is I found out about Daggerheart, and so we'll review that in spring as well.
That's the whole point of what we said.
Yeah, exactly.
We're hiatusing to have a regular schedule, but if something pops up, we'll slap an episode.
Exactly, and 2 things happen. Anyway, Peter makes D&D products. That's not Grohl. That's people for the ethical treatment of animals, right? they've done a thing. In addition to carrying out botched animal rescues and being a for-profit company masquerading as an animal charity, they're no strangers to making dumb shit for attention. From the infamous and amusing... what are you going to say?
They also kill more animals than they save.
Correct. So from the infamous and amusing to fucking video and their dumb as shit violent Pokemon clone, they've now made a D&D supplement. Sort of what they've done is released a pamphlet that adds 3 new subclasses to the game. So that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, what are they?
What are they?
What?
Zombie dog.
Well, it wouldn't be a zombie dog because that's violent towards animals, okay? You to fucking.
They're always violent towards animals. So.
Peter very, very often are. That's the problem, isn't it? Right, so they've got the Animal Liberation Paladin.
Nice.
The Circle of Empathy Druid.
Oh, God.
And the Warden of the Wild Ranger. So the Animal Liberation... I'll get into it in a second anyway. But in addition to this, the supplement includes 2 new spells, one of which is a worse version of the Knock spell, which opens mundane locks. But unlike the Knock spell, it can only be used on chains or locks that are holding animals. So just a shit version of an already existing spell. The other spell is a spell that marks an animal abuser with a magic mark that they can't get rid of.
I prefer...
Wait a second, wait.
For going for people like... No, go on, James.
What's the fucking point in this, mate? I'm not going to lie. Traditionally, when, like, people are playing for a game, or, like, the GM, DM won't sit there and be like, oh, yeah, so you happen across an animal abuser, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, because that's one of those things that's like just distressing to hear. It's like people putting raping in their games. Do you know what I mean? It's just you don't really see it, and also the point is that these classes, right? So the Warden of the Wild is somebody. It's like there's pro-conservation, anti-poacher people in South Africa. It's like one of those, right?
You know what they should have done with all this new stuff, right? Instead of making it like dumb and stupid like this, what they should have done is been like. They should have just trapped the spells to do something that then enhances some kind of animal type thing. So it would be like you're in the wild, what you can do, like for instance, use scavenge to find an item of your choice. But the trapping is you can talk to animals for a brief period of time, which will then lead you towards
find the things,
the item that you need. So therefore, it's incorporating animals in a positive way rather than being like, oh yes, there's an animal person.
Because also, what's weird about it is like
just describe the plot to Dr. Dolittle.
Isn't it?
Great film.
Let's do that, mate.
So, but do you know what it is? It's like I hate it when it's like. Because a class really should be as non-specific as possible, right?
Yeah.
And like Mörk, really even on a game is a game that I like, right? One of the classes was Wretched Royalty, which is a good class. But my point is that it should have just been royalty, right? You know what I mean? And then maybe it's implied within the game. And this is one of those types of things. It's like Animal Liberation Paladin. It's like I could probably think of about like 5 different subclasses for Paladin that could be that anyway. Because there's a lot of like you have like the paladins who worship nature. Do you know what I mean? That's already that. You know what I mean?
Big gold green tick right there.
So they've really just and the Warden of the Wild Ranger. I feel like I understand that rangers are often like hunting things for food and stuff. So I get that, but that's still just a ranger. It's pointless anyway.
In terms of like outlets for animal cruelty, I'd say KFC's the top tier in terms of RPGs.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
Well, like Peter did this and KFC did their one, innit?
That was Wendy's.
Was it? Oh.
But also, KFC's animal cruelty is high, right? And I understand that it is something I actually care about. But also their animal deliciousness is very, very high.
I mean, yeah, those secret herbs and spices, bro.
Very secret.
Yeah, but they were given out by like someone we know.
Who's giving out?
Shut up.
What's he talking about?
The herbs and spices.
Enya claimed to.
Oh right, okay. So don't say her name.
And you can cut it out though, innit?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, but now he has to edit it, which he didn't want to do.
I really didn't want to edit this, but so our friend who's named after a
Never
Well,
mind.
just to keep it non-specific, an Irish folk singer who did some of the songs for Lord of the Rings. No, I'll cut all of that. But anyway, yes, she worked at KFC, and she said, "I've got them. I've got the herbs and spices." Of course, you can just go on their website and see them, but there we go.
Yeah.
Secret. Anyway, as for the Peter product, it's not completely shit or overly violent like their other usual marketing stunts. But what is notable is that Peter's CEO, Ingrid Newkirk, does take home only $31,000 in salary a year. But this is
How many dividends, mate?
Oh wow.
well, exactly. But she is compensated with over 100k in bonuses.
Yeah.
And that's not related to the D&D products, but
Just
saying.
Just what kind of person she is.
exactly. So
There are some people who do have very successful companies that are worth a lot, who do just take the low income on
because with
purpose.
charities, I always thought that maybe the people running the show, like the CEOs, right, should be people that are good at business who have decided to do the world a favour and take a huge pay cut at the end of their career, right? I've always thought that was the case, but they earn just as much money. If you're do you know that Peter spent 80 million on research last year? And it's like, what could that? I mean, that's about as non-specific as you get, right? Wow. So if you're donating to them, you really are just donating to get Ingrid a new pool in her house. You know what I mean? It's like, that is shitty. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's RPG news. Shall we go into what we've been slaying?
Yeah.
And one of these. Oi, yeah? What you slaying?
So we play Rippers, sort of.
Sort of. No, we did. And
We
definitely did.
technically played a campaign.
No, we did.
2
We
months.
played it.
It was 2 months.
No, it's just over if you include the couple of times we couldn't play. But yeah.
Yeah.
So what, was it 8 sessions?
It was almost 9 sessions. 8. It was 8 full.
That's better than I thought it
sessions,
was.
Yeah.
So Rippers is a Victorian Gothic monster. I mean, come on, that is weird. Just as I said that, my window opened by itself. Everyone saw that.
Sean has
haunting.
literally pooed.
That was very haunting. It's Victorian Gothic monster hunting, and it's for Savage Worlds, right? It was very good. And what happened was essentially these guys were the London branch of the Rippers and had to defeat these monsters of the night that were coming back because it was the year leading up to the this thing called the Walpurgis, was this giant monster that was going to come and destroy the world. And each branch of the Rippers had to now destroy these like creatures of the night that were coming out as a result of this and get their power to then defeat the Walpurgis in a year, right? And I think, now not to toot my own whistle here, but some of the sessions that I did I was really, really proud of. Especially the one in the hospital with the crow lady.
No,
I loved
they were
that.
really good. And the thing is, because it's Savage Worlds, right? It's really quite brutal. But Rippers adds a new level to it.
I could have gone on for like a year, I think, in that sort of world.
The thing
I
is,
know, that was the idea.
Look, it had legs. Like it had so many legs, but basically, guys, TPK.
It was my first ever TPK.
Yeah.
And like you say, James, I think that this was a campaign I wanted to go on for a long time, and I was absolutely loving it. But the worst thing was...
We actually explored so much. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you can
it's all
actually
good.
you can actually know how I feel. Like, I'm not actually like joyous about like.
No, I was fucking devastated, mate. And you know what the worst thing was is that so the very last mission that we played. So there's these people that basically the Rippers are trying to save the world. Then all of the Catholics of the world, called the Cabal, they're trying to bring on its destruction because they believe it's an act of God. Right? It's like a purging, almost like Noah's Ark. And there was a point where these guys got a favour from Van Helsing, who was in charge of the German branch of Romanian branch of the Rippers, right? They asked him for a favour, so they owed him a favour. And they went to do it, and he was basically saying that the Cabal forces were doing something in the forests of Romania, right? And these guys had to go and investigate. Now, what was happening, and you guys never actually got to find this out, was that they were resurrecting something called the Colossus of Blood, which was a giant blood-based giant, basically, that was going to destroy Van Helsing's branch of the Rippers. So these guys got to the forest and immediately were beset upon by like these blood zombies, right? And
What about the gigantic boss we fought beforehand?
which one?
I think it was. I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember. But...
No, there was the crow. There was also the tiger in the sea, the lion thing.
Yep.
There was also
No, there were a lot of bosses, but that night you didn't fight a boss.
It was hired. No, it wasn't that night. It was
Oh no, yeah, you just because
before, like in the last session, we just defeated giant.
yeah, but you were fully healed when you went to Romania, though.
Yeah, we were.
So we like explored an awful lot. Like we covered so much ground, and we did so many, I suppose, adventures, right?
Yeah, I mean, so for to give some context to how the manner in which these guys died. So they went over to Romania to try and investigate.
Yep.
But prior to that, they defeated Hyde from Jekyll and Hyde. They defeated a crow woman. They defeated a giant dog beast, and
then we came up against some fucking grunts,
like some zombie extras that were not powerful at all, but all night were rolling incredibly well.
They rolled incredibly. We rolled terribly.
I think the map as well, like the way it was spread out. I think because I moved in too early.
No, you say that
the zombies were chomping me, and then
Yeah. So, but when it actually happened, though, the previous round they met some Kabbalists who were resurrecting zombies and were shooting them with crossbows, right, and spells. Then it was on the next map where you guys never actually got out of the starting area because I pulled better initiative than you. The zombies closed in. These guys were stuck at the start of the map, just surrounded. And then it was like, bite after bite. And it got to the point where it was everyone was dropping so frequently that we would go, it would be like, right, I roll, explode, 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 which is Savage World's version of a crit. And he'd be like, right, you're down, yep, rolling incapacitation, rolls, right, dead, right, next. Then they go through the exact same thing again. And then we got to the point where these guys had a bunch of employees in their Ripper Lodge back in London. I was like, right, they spend a couple of hours trying to get to the fight. They try the zombies again, and it was like, right, Barry goes down. Right, other guy goes down. Right, cool, good campaign, lads.
Yeah, we brought in the extras.
Oh, it was terrible, man. It was so bad, and like you say, I was enjoying it so much. Loved the characters, I loved the setting, and the chemistry was really. I loved your character, James.
Yeah.
Ashcroft, he was amazing, and Sean, your character, Ragged Jack. Yeah. He was a homeless guy.
I technically had 3 characters in the end, didn't I? I had the French one.
Oh yeah, Guillaume.
Yeah, Guillaume.
But everyone just called him Guillaume.
He had such a typically French personality.
Yeah, he did. So
your characters were like the best ones, to be honest. My one was more for like gameplay purposes.
He was great, man.
You say gameplay. That's the whole. It's always for gameplay purpose. So all we're doing.
Yeah, it's a mix. You've got to do a good mix.
Quite, yeah.
But James is playing Ashcroft, and basically all these guys are resurrected from the dead to then fight these monsters, right? So it's.
Ashcroft was like a noble butler, essentially.
Yeah, and he had a fear of germs. So Sean's character being homeless and also a burn victim.
I was quite a dick to him a lot.
Yeah, it was
like, oh, you're dirty.
Yeah, so
we went in the sewers and you're like, no, I'm not going in there.
What I liked as well, there was a bit where you guys are in this. It was essentially this hospital, and this woman had been turning into a crow beast, right? And they were exploring around, and of course it was full of fucking germs because it was an abandoned hospital. James's character was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to go in there." And Sean was like, "We go where other people don't dare to," or something like this. And it was just then there was like a pregnant pause at the table. It was just like, yeah, that's cool line. Yeah. Rippers is very fucking good. I mean, and one of the key features I like about it is obviously the setting, but the two things as well is that you can chop up the monsters that you kill and implant them into yourself. So James ended up with a pair of wings. He couldn't fly, but once per encounter he could dash 12 squares. Somebody could see in the dark, but their eyes glowed, so they had a minus to stealth in the dark. We had Sean. You had a tentacle that could come out your chest that was an innate weapon, which is pretty cool. But the entire campaign, the entire 9 episodes that we nearly played, you never learned that was for an attack only and could not be used to pick things up. Every single game. Right. Oh, I've got an idea. I pick it up with a tentacle.
Yeah, I got so excited.
It was just this thing that comes out and lashes. It doesn't do anything else.
Yeah, I could have hit things off of things if I'd.
Oh, and didn't somebody? There was this soot-based elemental demon that you guys fought as well.
Yeah.
Another thing that was incredibly strong. And didn't you? Somebody had the ability to generate a cloud of soot by coughing as well, or did you? No, maybe that was the one you failed.
I think it was one we failed.
Because you can fail on the surgery
that
to
was
implant
the one
it.
where we had to leg it because we were going to die in it.
Yeah. And that was also the one where 2 people used firearms while trying to fight it in a coal yard. And
yeah, I mean...
that was you first.
I didn't use firearms.
Then James's character...
No, I definitely didn't use firearms. And like JT used firearms in a coal yard. That wasn't James.
It was James.
It was me.
It was James.
It was me.
So that's one of the cool things is the implanting. They call it Ripper Tech. And then the other thing is that you get a Ripper Lodge, which has its own character sheet that you level up over time as well. And by the time these guys were done, I mean, it was pretty cool. You had a library in there, a doctor.
Library, we could enhance research roles, which is really useful for it. The doctor allowed us to do healing rolls instead of it being within an hour, it was within a whole day.
Yes.
As long as we went back to the lodge. So the golden hour became the golden day.
Yeah, that meant that if you were really damaged in a fight, you had a whole day to repair yourself rather than an hour. Because in Savage Worlds, if you go over that hour, it means you then have to wait 5 whole days to do a natural healing roll. So it's very, very handy. And you had a dining room as well, which you could use for social things.
And we ended up having additional hired mercenaries who became part of our lodge.
That's right. Yeah, you did, and that was mainly your doing, James, because you ended up hiring the French guy and a security guard, and this was because we were using adventure cards, which you hand them out to the players at the beginning of each game, and they can have some effect on the game. You can play at any time. Yeah. And James had one. It was like a random NPC becomes friendly to your party for the rest of the night. That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were sneaking.
Yeah, as long as they weren't a foe, that they would become part of your group.
And then what was funny was
controlled by the player. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. It's controlled by you for the rest of the game, right? Yeah. So what happened was they were sneaking into this mansion, chasing this fucking soot demon down, and James was just trying to smooth talk the security guard. Failed, and he was, and the guy was like, "Look, I don't know what you're fucking on, but just fuck off, all right?" And then James just played the card, and he's like, "Do you know what, mate? I like you."
Yeah, it was really funny. He's like, it gets a bit lonely out here.
He goes, "Do you know what? I'm thankful that somebody's spoken to me." So for the rest of the game, James was playing 2 characters.
And just turning your head round left and right.
I did do one of those things that probably a few people hate, but I didn't do it for a long time, but I was basically monologuing because I was playing 2 characters and they were like talking and / arguing.
But your main character Ashcroft died, then you took control of Guillaume and Barry.
Yeah, and they
Barry,
were
who was the security guard, and then Guillaume was this guy who was from another part of the Rippers organisation. And James was control of both, and Barry was sort of like, "What the fuck is this?" And then James would just turn his head a bit and he'd go, "Well, I don't know, but I think we should go in there." Do you reckon? It was great, man. It was great.
It was good.
So yeah, those are my main things about Rippers that I like, is the Ripper Tech and the Ripper Lodge. It really, really changes the way that you play Savage Worlds, and I thought it was fucking great.
And if you've not played it,
so we'll get cracking. We'll get back on it.
Yeah, I reckon so. We can easily slot back into it. I think now, like a lot easier than
for the German branch. Like, oh shit.
Well, I said this because the thing is, Van Helsing's part, because of you guys failing, Van Helsing's part of the Rippers in Germany would be destroyed, right? And the entirety of the London branch were destroyed right there in Romania, right? Because you only had about 6 members at that time.
Yeah, including the security.
So what that left was the 3rd branch, which was in Germany, which was controlled by Dr. Frankenstein, right? And I said to these guys, right, we can start there. But then it's also like the deflation of having your Ripper Lodge now useless, and also like starting up in a pre-made Ripper Lodge in Germany, you know what I mean? And I think that would be cool if we started the campaign that way and you guys built it up even more, you know. But it was going from all that hard work you did to make your characters have all these cool abilities from the Ripper Tech, and also build up your Ripper Lodge, then going, right, we're going to start again, and you get a pre-built Ripper Lodge. I don't know, it just would have been a bit of an anticlimax, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it would have been, but I think like give it time and it won't be.
Right, so I just need to grab something.
Is it the ball that keeps bouncing around?
Yeah, that's weird. So James, you've been playing your work game, is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Harrison picked up a magazine to read whilst I tell you about the
because you know what it is. It's that you've got a new group, and I've got to be honest with you, I hate those guys. I fucking hate them.
So I will say that the last episode we played wasn't really the best one.
Smoky celeriac chips.
Yeah, we essentially we had a new person join the group who's played D&D and that before, so that was quite nice. And he works in my department as well, so that was cool. But essentially, what happened was we went through like a real deep forest, and then happened across the Golden Saucer
from Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
yes,
from Final Fantasy, and because the person who's DMing it is they just do one shots, but then they tie them together, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pure one shots, and the storyline just evolves as and when. I don't think
watching Doctor Who or something.
Yeah, so I don't think they have. There's not like a campaign that they have fully fleshed out, but they'll just do bits and bobs.
I mean,
it's one way to do it.
I did ask you, James, if their Golden Saucer was as good as mine.
No, definitely not.
Sean's one was great.
Definitely not. It's amazing. But the difference was, right, so I learned afterwards, my mate said that he likes high fantasy, right? He plays D&D. He's a 5e nerd. He's got like, the large plastic crate boxes that you get for moving shit, because he's moving house soon. He's got 2 of them full up with just D&D stuff. He's one of them.
I thought of getting one of those, actually.
Yeah. So he's got a lot of shit.
Have we ever... really sorry to interrupt, mate. I do want to hear about your game. Yeah. Have we ever spoken about the gaming suitcase? I don't think we have we?
We've mentioned it.
Have we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We've berated Sean about it, that's for sure.
On the podcast?
Yeah. Definitely.
All right.
Be like, bring the suitcase along. So it's got everything I don't need to think about what I need, and he's never used it.
Oh no, we have, yeah. Yeah, he brings absolutely every single RPG thing he owns in a massive, giant suitcase.
That he stores at people's house.
That he stores at somebody else's, another player's house.
You say it like it's still current, but
bruv,
I've learned from my mistakes.
That was wild.
I just wanted to give you guys the best experience.
Do you remember the other day when it was like, so I usually drive to James's when we play at yours, right?
Yeah.
But when the other day I wanted to have a drink, so I decided I was going to bring my huge bag, and all the stuff you need for Savage Worlds when we're playing Rippers is a lot in it, right?
Yeah.
So I put it in a suitcase and then just wheeled it to James's, and as soon as I came in, I saw Sean do a face like and pointed at the suitcase. No, and I just went, "Shut up!"
It was because it kept it dry.
Yeah, it was that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go on about
that's the real reason.
Wait, go on.
Well, it's a short summary, but essentially, when we got out and started opening on the field, we were told that we could go left to an abandoned town or right towards this like really flashy, shining, bright light golden saucer, and then we were like, we'll go towards the town because that didn't interest us.
She's like, right.
Well, it ended up that the new player was actually already in the Golden Saucer, and then they came to track us down to then bring us there. But what I learnt afterwards, like I was saying, was because my mate, he likes high fantasy stuff. He doesn't really care for the shining lights and all these elements that you put in to try and bring it up to date and make it current.
I know what you mean.
He really likes it to be as high fantasy as possible. So we went in there, did a few gambling bits, which they had some mechanics for, like rolling 2d20s to do this, that and the other, and doing some betting. But then we got like taken into a back room and had to fight some like really high magical users and all this stuff. So it was a bit weird, whereas like, Sean's version was like sick because it allowed you to do so much more that added to your character, whereas this was, I know it's a one-shot thing, so I don't want to use the term railroad, but it was just like we went along with what was built because otherwise it was just essentially being mean to the GM at that stage.
I feel, is it your mate Jamie, right?
Yeah,
probably. But the thing is, I know what he means, and the trouble is that I think it's a lot of people get their modern ideas of fantasy from things like 5e, where there's a lot of optional things like guns, mecha, loads of weird races. In addition to this, it's like Final Fantasy is a series of games that tends to blur that line a little bit more by different degrees depending on the game, right?
I quite like
so you could say Final Fantasy 1 is really traditional. Yeah. But then Final Fantasy 7, which is where the Gold Saucer comes from, that's a cyberpunk game, essentially, with fantasy monsters.
FF14's high fantasy, but it has that bit of ambiguity, but it doesn't really mess with the high fantasy. But you've got stuff like phones and yes,
but they're magic pearls you put in your ear. We'll get into that later. But the Yeah, so I
like
don't mind that as long as it's plausible, because typically the whole thing, the where you cross the line where people accept it is you do fantasy, but you're allowed to change one thing, right?
Yeah.
So in the case of like Final Fantasy VI, which is a very good game, it's like the one thing they change is that there's some tech in the world, but it's powered by magic.
Well, I think the issue is that it felt seemingly picked up and dropped into the game.
I see what you mean. So it hasn't been like that previously.
It's not one isolated bit.
Yeah, because it was, like I said, every single one's a one shot, so they're going to be different and try and blend the story to make it a bit more cohesive. So there is an overarching storyline that's now like being made, but there's not one that has ever existed before. So it's just piecing it all together. So I'm not pooing on her for doing her prep, but I feel like that one for the audience perhaps didn't land as well as she thought it may have.
Yeah, but I think that's probably part of the enjoyable part of playing it in the format that she's doing, because what you end up with is, okay, maybe that one wasn't to your taste or to Jamie's taste, but then the next one could be anything. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
It's quite nice having the variety of
Monster
whatever.
of the Week.
Yeah.
That's what I like, because Rippers essentially did have a through line and had a story. But each session, because it was all different monsters that you were hunting down and slaying, it was a bit like, I can really just vary this up how I want. Like, we had some that were genuinely dark, some that were a bit more on the silly side, some that were investigative, some that were combat focused, you know what I mean?
Oh, another point I'd like to say is, I've already mentioned that we've got some proper 5e nerds, so they'll correct each other on the rules and all this kind of stuff. And that's fine, because I've learned that they enjoy it. If someone says, no, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, they're like, okay, fine. They don't mind being corrected as long as it's to the rule, right?
Yeah.
So I've learned that, and I'm like, okay, I could be at peace. But I don't really care for that. I love role-playing, so I'm always doing an accent or trying to do, some stuff and say how my character's acting and play to what their flaws or whatever, ideals and bonds that it says on the sheet.
Ideals, bonds, morals, isn't
it? Yeah, so those kind of things. I'm always playing towards them, and I like doing that. Whereas other people, they build their character to be really OP and stuff. But I think that's just how I've learnt how to role play.
But it depends on what I think.
But you want to see your character get better, but you want to, like, I don't know.
It needs to have context.
Yeah.
But it depends on what type of player you are. I mean, I've said the bare minimum that I expect of a player or their character, I should say, is to at least be useful in the scenario. If you can't role play a good character, then that's fine. If you're going to be useful, as long as you're not a hindrance and also are not role playing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we had one of the players in the Rippers campaign. His character was arrogant and bloodthirsty, and that's usually a recipe for somebody being a fucking twat. But actually, it was all right.
He played it quite well.
Just
to be honest,
because usually it's like, I'm creating somebody who does whatever the fuck they want and doesn't care about the party. But in this case, it was like, okay.
They cared deeply about the party, but then when it came up against the foe, they were a dick towards the foe, which was fine.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so you're enjoying the work game?
Yeah, it's going all right.
Good.
It's decent. It always happens on a Monday, which annoys me. But
right, I'm going to try and organise a one shot with you and your mate Jamie from work as well.
Yeah.
Who he's really nice. I like him, but he's stealing my friend. Right, should we do the main subject?
I think I almost a ninja.
Sean's taking his sweet fucking. So before we started recording, he went for a piss.
Twice.
And then about 5 minutes in, went for another piss. He's going to go for another one now. There he goes. Yes, it's happening. He's doing another one. He has the bladder of a child.
No, I don't think it's of even a child. He has the bladder of a fucking 90-year-old man.
That's it. Yeah. Just got to take a quick piss.
Just got to, sorry guys, you got to go for a wee minute.
Main. Subject. Magic. Main. Subject. Tokyo. Main. Subject.
Look, I get it, ladies and gentlemen. Square Enix's Final Fantasy XIV, the second most successful MMORPG of all time, might as well be called Weeaboo Online Hikari no Senshi 14. And yes, it features bunny women, cat women and men, and some very sussy in-game player-created nightclubs where people literally pay real money to bots to do emotes. And yes, every fucking cunt that plays it, including myself, is a middle-aged weeb playing an anime waifu with a faux Japanese name.
I'm not, though.
No, Sean isn't. Sean isn't one of those. His character is a big bloke called Sledge McWild. But what if I told you that even considering all of that, it's actually a spectacular game with a really fucking interesting and nuanced world, and that also a tie-in tabletop role-playing game was released, and actually it's genuinely fucking exciting, different, unique, and I'd recommend it to non-weebs. That's right, today we're going to be talking about the upcoming FFXIV TTRPG LGBTQ+, having played a decent chunk of the starter box set, and we'll also talk about what's coming up in the full game. And look, I totally get it if anime fantasy isn't your bag, but do stick around because I'm fairly confident I can convince you listeners to give this game a look in, even if you find Final Fantasy XIV to be a bit shit. But first, go on.
I would say that Final Fantasy XIV with the anime stuff kind of appeals because it's got a bit more character than, say, a generic fantasy.
Like Throne and Liberty or World of Warcraft. It's different.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
different. But we kind of have to talk about the world that Final Fantasy XIV takes place in because it's going to likely provide a bit of context to what you actually do in the game. And bear in mind, this is a huge, complicated video game / tabletop world. So sorry to the lore nerds if I get anything wrong. Also, I know this part is going to be the most boring part of it, so I'm going to try and abridge it quite heavily because I do think the TTRPG is very good, but maybe the most exciting thing about it, well, the world helps, but is also the manner in which you play it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and to recount the lore of Final Fantasy XIV mostly from memory. So essentially,
what's the dog doing?
Right, I'm turning that off.
What is the dog?
That is sorry, that's not funny for anyone but me. Right, so the planet that the whole world game takes place on is called Hydaelyn, right? And that's also the name of this big fucking crystal that is in the center of the Earth, right? This crystal has loads of like sort of veins coming out of it that are the energy of the planet, called the life stream, right? And this means that all this energy is called ether. So there's a lot of etheric energy. Don't do it, you fucking piece of shit. Sean was about to put some sound effects on his phone. Essentially, that means that every creature on the planet is full of this etheric energy, and by living their life, contributing to the world, they put it back into the life stream and keep the planet going, right? What this also means is that, say for example, you were fated to become a bartender in your life. That's a person with a low amount of ether energy in them, right? If you're fated to be a massive hero or a legend or a warlord or a politician, right, then you have lots of ether energy in you. And if you die very suddenly, what that means is you then explode and turn into a big crystal.
It just depends on your renown in the world.
Exactly, and you are fated to be a person of renown, essentially. What this means is if there's a big battle and loads of legendary heroes die, that large areas of the world can be turned into big fields of crystal because you would explode and become a crystal, and so entire cities can get destroyed simply because loads of people die there or whatever. Anyway, so also the world is always fated to be either in an umbral or astral era. The umbral eras are basically like times of peace and rebuilding, and the astral ones are like the fate means that the world is going to be in some sort of turmoil. It could be natural disaster, it could be war, it could be a giant monster turning up like fucking Godzilla and fucking everything up. But the world is always in one of these. So the game takes place in the 7th astral era, where basically these people from Garlemald, called the Garleans, are enacting a massive war on the main city-states, right? So you've got Uldar, which is like this merchant city. You've got Limsa-Lominsa, which is this pirate city, and then you've got Gridania, which is like a forest city with elves and shit in it.
Why is it in the game that in Limsa-Lominsa that all the weebs gather? They're like this, it's just full of them.
I'll tell you why, because Limsa-Lominsa is the pirate city, and it's the most pretty of all of them. That's it. Oh. That's why it's the main hub where everyone gathers, plays music, dances, and does all that weird shit. So yeah, the Garleans, they're enacting a big war with Magitech things, which are like really cool technology, basically. And that's why they're in the 7th astral era. Now, what their main plan is that they're kind of being controlled by a bunch of people from another dimension called the Ascians, right? And these guys are making the Garleans provoke the beast tribes, which are like the most primal form of life on the planet, to summon primals, which are like demigods made of pure ether energy, right? So these people are enacting a war by not only using these giant mechs, but also making beast men do terrible shit and going, oh, do you think you should summon this big god? I think that's a really good idea. And that's essentially it. So it does have a few differences to normal fantasy things in that there is technology in the game, but it's all powered by magic. So like Sean mentioned earlier, you've got link shells and link pearls, which are telephones and WhatsApp groups, respectively, basically. And I'm trying to think of any other differences. I mean, some of the technology, for example, you do have motorbikes.
You have claw machines as well.
Claw machines, casinos, things like this.
Roller coasters.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? So that's the world in a nutshell. It's nothing too big to deal with outside of normal fantasy, but that's essentially it, right?
Yeah.
Now the MMO, obviously, we've been playing a lot recently, and we'll maybe talk about it later. But one of the big things in it is that, I mean, this is fucking dumb, but the innovation that they've done really is giving it a good story and world. And that shouldn't be an innovation, but most MMOs are devoid of both of those, and they're very boring, right? So another thing is that there's a focus on multiplayer content. So there's a lot of like dungeon running and learning tactics of bosses, and what the big thing is that they'll do AoE attacks that you need to get out of the way of or try to stop or things like this, and they'll put a big marker down on the map. Suddenly everyone needs to leg it or do something to stop the boss from doing a major attack. A good example of which the other day is that Sean and I, within the MMO, did what was the dungeon called? Cutter's Cry.
Yeah.
Where we fought Chimera, which is an optional boss that we wiped on 5 times before finally defeating. And we actually had to be coordinated to the point where I looked up the boss's attacks, then called out to Sean what we needed to do. And I was going, right, its eyes are blue, getting close. Its eyes are violet, fuck off.
In Final Fantasy lore, it's one of the hardest bosses in all of them. So.
And it was really cool as well, because what ended up happening is on the very last time we actually did it, everyone died, and it had about 10% of its health left. And I was like, right, Sean, give everything you got. And he was absolutely smacking it, and then we managed to do it. So very cool. But yes, so it also has a big focus on playing your role, right? So you're either a DPS, a mage, or a tank, right? A DPS, healer, or tank, right? So those are the kind of the focuses within the game. And the TTRPG, we've said before, that it's important not to try and emulate video games within a TTRPG. But this does emulate the video game mechanics, but I think does it really well. So should we talk about the TTRPG? So, first of all, we'll talk about the characters and jobs that you play. Now, bear in mind, the full game is not out yet. It's only the starter box set. So you've got 4 classes, or jobs they're called in this. You've got the White Mage, which is a healer. Dragoon, which is a DPS that uses spears. You've got the Warrior, which is a tank. And then you've got the Black Mage, which is a DPS that uses spells, essentially. And the way the battles work is kind of cool, right? Now, hear me out, listener. If I said 4th edition, but good, right?
Yeah, that's it, really.
I mean, it is that. It's very, very ability focused. So within battles, the way it works is that there's no initiative. And in fact, what happens is one side goes or the other side goes. And you can use things to determine this. For example, so most fights, it starts with all the players going first, and they choose the order they go in. But there might be some fights where it's just like, part of the flavour is that you're going second, or it might be that you are surprised, so you go second.
I think part of what makes the game really good is the fact that in this game more than ever, you all need to communicate with each other, even on starting order and stuff like that, because you can get enemies that use big AoEs, and you have to move out the way, and you have to discuss what move you're doing with your team and stuff.
You're exactly right. I mean, like in the MMO, the classes all have synergies that work together, and as a result, you need to work to figure out strategy together. I've never seen it quite as good as within this game.
I like the fact that, like Sean was saying, you have to communicate with each other, but you can also suggest to, like, it feels like completely fine to suggest to each other, oh, you should think about maybe doing one of these attacks or something like that, because that'll give me an opportunity to do this, or that'll give him an opportunity to do that.
And you get like a really good feel for the other players have and stuff like that compared to...
No, I agree. I completely agree. And then, you know, so a good example is the order we've tended to do things is that White Mage will go first, then Sean will go next, because his character is a warrior. So we'll talk about, like, I'll give you kind of an idea as to how a typical turn will go. So the White Mage goes first, and let's say, for example, no one needs healing. So on your turn, you can use a primary ability, a secondary ability, and move. And there are certain instant abilities as well that if a trigger is met, you can use it, but once per turn, you get an instant ability. So it might be like the White Mage will cost Stone 2, right? So it costs them 1 MP, and then they need to make a check to hit the target. And the way it works is that every ability that you use always hits. It just always hits, but you only get a base effect, which is kind of shit. Then you roll to see if it's a direct hit, and then you get an extra one. So, for example, the White Mage with Stone 2, base effect just deals 2 damage. So you do 2 damage, and monsters have large HPs in this. Yeah. So that's not much, but you're always going to be doing something. But a direct hit will add another D6 to it, right? So that's pretty cool. And then she might go and do the secondary ability, so you can inflict arrow, right? Which will do damage over time. And what this means is that at the end of the enemy turn, they'll take 3 damage every turn until the end of the encounter, basically. So she's done those 2 things, and now it's Sean's job, right? Because he's the tank. He's got the most HP and the most abilities to be survivable, right? So Sean, you're the warrior, and your whole thing is that you need to inflict enmity on targets. So a lot of his attacks will mean that enemies will have to hit you or suffer a -5 penalty to their attack. So Sean might go in and do overpower, which means he can put down a marker, which is a 5x5 square thing, and everyone within that will take will now have to attack you or get a -5 to all damage. And then in addition to this, if you do a direct hit with it, you can do 2 damage to all of those people as well, which is pretty fucking cool. So then Sean's got everyone hitting him. The White Mage has cast her spells, usually going to be healing. And then James, whilst everything is distracted, hitting Sean, and he's taking all the damage, you come in and kill it.
And so I can set up for, when I'm taking my turn, I can set up for the next turn by using stuff that maybe raises my attack, or a low kick that stops them from doing a big AoE attack or something like that.
Yeah,
that stuns them.
Rampart as well, so every damage you take is reduced by 2. That's one of Sean's secondary abilities. So it's like you're now taking all the hits, all the damage is reduced, and James will come in and then fuck them up. I mean, I've got your character sheet here, James, and he's playing the Dragoon. And so a big thing in this game is also some abilities can combo into other abilities. So you get 1 primary ability per turn, and James is True Thrust. So that means base effect of 3 damage and can do an additional 2d6 with a direct hit. But then you also get the combo attack, Dragoon combo. So he's got 2. One that powers up your future attacks, or one that does extra damage. So you kind of then... But that only counts as your primary ability, because you've done a combo. That combo is your primary ability, and you've still got 1 extra move to make.
And like your main thing is sort of swooping in, getting big damage, and getting out, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that feel of it, because and what the enemies will then do on their turn fairly often is they'll put down a marker, and the box set comes with loads of different like templates essentially.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and it might say, okay, so this monster's going to spit acid. So you put it down, and by the beginning of its next turn, anyone who's in that circle is going to get hit with this massive acid attack. So everyone needs to either stop it with your low kick, Sean, or or everyone needs to get the fuck out of the way. And it's a good way to sort of control where people are in the battlefield. But
this is the sort of thing that makes, even though the battles are a bit longer than usual stuff, it just makes it exciting, because like there's stuff like this happening, different stuff all the time. It's not like 4E where you're just going in and attacking, taking ages.
And also direct hits from monster attacks can do a hell of a lot of damage. So it's that aspect where everyone's having to plan to not get hit by the fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, I hope that sort of describes sort of the way the combat goes. Like Sean said, it does take longer, but it's more... it is an RPG, but the RPG elements are a bit light, whereas the tactical skirmish bits are more on the heavy side.
But that's that's the whole the main focus, isn't it? So you've really got to buy into it and make sure that you understand that it's going to be combat heavy, but you're all working as a team, and the idea is to try and survive it all together because you are better as a team. If everyone can work and do basically tag team moves in a very particular way, you can probably overcome it quite well.
It's not a game where, like in a lot of other games, if you're just doing whatever you want on any given turn, mostly you can scrape by in, like, say, D&D or Savage Worlds. And then they're good games, but this one is like the teamwork is the absolute focus, and it's not easy either because, like I said, the monster attacks are fucking horrific. There are a couple of extra things to the combat as well. It's like, and I'll kind of leave these out because they're a bit boring, but it's sort of like you have MP, so spells cost MP to cast, and then you recover a certain amount at the end of each turn. And each class will have their own unique abilities. So the Black Mage, for example, they can use all of their MP on any given turn, but if they cast a fire spell, they will gain something called Astral Fire, which will mean that all of their fire spells from then on will do extra damage, but they won't actually recover any MP. So what they then need to do is cast an ice spell, which are weaker, but they go into umbral ice mode where they recover more MP at the end of a turn. James, for example, you have your Dragoon has its own unique mechanics where it has Power Surge. So some abilities will make you go into a Power Surge mode where you can deal extra 2 damage with every hit. Or Drain, where you can recover HP by hitting things, right? Yep. So you can activate those. Sean has the combos and the Enmity, where he gets enemies to hit him. And of course, I can't remember what the White Mage does. Oh, Transcendent, where they can become immune to damage, but that's when they get resurrected, basically. They have a short period where they can't be damaged, which is pretty fucking cool. So each of the characters has that unique mechanic, and in addition to that, you have something called limit breaks, which are your character's ultimate abilities that can come about at a certain point. And this is what really turned the tide of the last boss fight. Essentially, limit breaks, they come along every time it's when the GM says. Yeah. But it's usually at the end of a big fucking boss encounter. And James has Dragon Song Dive, where he jumps like 60 feet in the air, then comes down, then comes onto the monster, dealing 6d6 damage to the target, then move to an empty square adjacent to the target if one of is available.
And by the way, if I got a critical success on the dice roll, that 66 will become 12.
That's right, yeah, because you double the dice. Yeah. And what's cool is that ability can also be used to evade an enemy attack. So if you're in a marker, do Dragon Song Dive and you dive the fuck out of the way. It's really fucking cool. So yeah, a lot, and to be honest, the maps that come with the game are kind of a little bit devoid of obstacles, but then the obstacles become those markers that the enemies put down, like the templates that you're trying to get away from. And I find it's one of those games because the game is something that really needs to be thought about, and the teamwork is something that really needs to be good, otherwise you're going to fail. It's one of those games that we've been playing recently where it'll be like, we do one battle and it's like, oh my god, it's 9 o'clock. But none of us are, like, the time is flying because it's such a deep and involved game.
You know what I quite like about the whole sort of skirmish battle part of it is as soon as the map goes down, and they're not big, they're like A4 bit of paper. I'm sure they can be bigger and will be bigger in the main version. But when you put the map down and you're putting your characters in place, you have starter markers. I really like that because it's just like 2 corners that you will represent an area where all the player characters around the table start, and then as soon as they put their characters down, you remove those markers because that's the only place they can start, and then basically you can move around the entire map.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I liked because there was one encounter, for example, where you get ambushed, and so the markers were right in the middle, and then you have enemies on either side. And I really... to be honest, a lot of what makes the game so playable, the abilities aren't complex like 4E. So it does sound like that, where it's like, every turn you're not just going, I hit the thing. You're going, right, I use True Thrust followed by Disembowel, or I use Warrior Combo and then Storm's Path. Yes, but it's not exactly like 4E in that the abilities are more simple, but they just have more gameplay implications. Like one might give you drain, one might do damage over time, one might combo into another.
I'd also like to comment on the character sheets that you get given.
I was going to say that.
they're different. You know, they're not your typical character sheet where you have, they're not portrait, they're landscape, and then they have the like the primary, secondary, and
instant
abilities in columns. So they're really easy to read, and as soon as you sit down, you can just have a look and be like, oh, I can do this, followed by this, followed by this.
It really streamlines it because you just look at your sheet and you know exactly this one combos into this, or if there's one that can only be used once per phase, then there's a tick box for it so you can tell if it's used. I mean, the very funny thing is that though for the first episode of the campaign, Sean didn't read his instant abilities, and these really can change everything. They're really fucking good. And these have to have a trigger, right? So Sean has one, for example, that is immediately before an ability used by an enemy within 2 squares is resolved, right? And then he can put down a 5x5 marker, and it'll reduce the damage of all the abilities of all targets by 2 until the end of this round, right? So that's pretty cool. Or he can use provoke. Just when an enemy begins their turn, he can now make it so that they're... So let's say if it's going to attack you, James, he uses provoke. Suddenly, if it still wants to attack you, -5.
Yeah.
Really good.
Like they're about to put down an area of effect marker, but Sean could be like...
And then suddenly
provoke.
That marker then will have to go towards him or get a -5. Really cool. And yeah, the character sheets, that's what worries me about the full game. I'm going to say this because these character sheets are so brilliant and readable and make this strategically complex game very playable.
I do think
but if you're writing down your abilities...
Yeah, I do think they're going to be blank, but with space to write your abilities in. And stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you think?
Do you know, my hope for it is that they'll have a builder on their website where you can make one of these types of sheets.
Or do you think they'll give you cards?
Maybe. I'll have to look because the deluxe box set of the main game, which is coming out in February, is 160 quid.
You're definitely buying it.
I'm definitely fucking getting it.
No, but that's a good sign. They probably will have cards and miniatures and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what you need. The thing is, this is a game that cannot be played theatre of the mind. That's just the fact because you've got because the markers are getting put down. Point. So you need to have all the minis, and instead of sitting down, it comes with little cardboard tokens, right? So the main game is going to come with all of them that you need. So you'd be silly not to buy it. Otherwise, you'll sit around making your own for ages.
I do hope that they don't, at least at the beginning, start making like full-size miniatures and stuff.
That'd be cool.
But that'll cost a lot.
Oh yeah, it'd be too much.
Cardboard minis, but yeah. I think.
The other thing is we'll talk about very quickly. So the battling is sort of the main thing, and I thought hopefully we convince you that it is really, really fucking good. And
well, take it for someone who I've never really played any of the Final Fantasy games ever. So me sitting down, obviously I understand it, and I've played through some similar games, but I've generally not played many MMOs in this kind of way. So as a novice to it all, sitting down at the table and then playing it, as soon as I wrapped my head around the fact that it was all around sort of the skirmish battles and how that was sort of the main focus of it, I understood how to start contributing to it in that way.
Yeah, and you got it and enjoyed it, right?
Yeah.
I think everyone's enjoying it. I mean, we are doing some role-play segments as well, but, the book doesn't come with items at the moment and things like this.
I also think that they're, with this beginner box set, they're showing you certain things. So there'll be things that are added. I think, like, role-play elements will be added to
and you can do those using the current rules, but there'll probably be more things. I mean, another thing that's missing is the crafting and gathering jobs, which I don't know how they're going to deal with that, but that'll be fucking fun. Yeah. As a person that's really enjoying the fishing in the MMO, I can't wait to just do that constantly in the fucking game.
Going to be cooking for everyone.
So leveling up is funny. So in the MMO, you start off as your a different job essentially, right? So when you pick, if you want to be a black mage, you don't start as a black mage. You start as a black mage, motherfucker. You start as a thaumaturge, and then at level 30, you get your main job and you become a black guy. And you
have to cut that as well.
Then you become a black mage, right? So in the box set at least, you start at level 30, so that you've got your actual named class, and each level up you go up by 10 levels. So I think, isn't it? Yeah. So you guys are level 40 now, because you've leveled up once. That's and at the moment it just sort of hands you what the next level is, so it will just give you your abilities basically, which is absolutely fine. I mean, it's just the starter box set. I wanted to talk about the mini campaign really quickly though. So it's 4 episodes that are in the book, and it says each one should take experienced players 1 night of play. Wow. But actually the battle's quite long and involved, so we've ended up taking a bit longer with it, which is really nice. But what's great about it is his own side story that runs parallel to the main plot of the game. And what's funny is it means it has its quirks in some aspects because, firstly, they're quite linear, right? And that's to be expected. But the other thing is that, so at the moment the plot is about these crystals being stolen because the Beastmen are trying to summon the primals, like I mentioned at the beginning of this. And these guys are trying to stop it. But of course, what happens in the video game is that the Beastmen do end up summoning the primals, for the first one being Ifrit, right? Which is a fire-based primal. And they do summon him. So the first mission of their TTRPG, you're trying to stop them from getting enough crystals to summon the primal. But of course, it still happens. So you guys heroically did that, risked your lives. And then when you're getting your sort of like end-of-game speech by the NPC, she's like, listen, well done. You did a great job. They did summon the primal, but it was less strong, and they managed to defeat it because of you. So you guys are sort of like the unsung heroes, whereas the characters in the MMO video game are the ones that actually beat it. So I thought, well, that's kind of funny, and also, so that meant I put the heroes from the MMO in the game as NPCs. And like they're really arrogant because they're being celebrated while you guys aren't. So,
it goes along with the game though, because when you start out,
it does. But you're not fighting Ifrit in the game. Instead, you're the guys helping the other guys defeat Ifrit.
Yeah, but when you start, like in both, you're not known at all, and like as we're going through, we're gaining notoriety. So probably the next one.
Well, here's what I think.
We might be fighting it head to head.
I think that what I might do is like once we're done with the 4 missions in this thing, we carry on playing, but I'm going to kind of insert your characters into the main plot instead because I think that'd be more fun.
Mm.
But it is a good campaign, and so far the actual things you're doing are very varied. I mean, it's a lot of fighting, but then there's some investigation too. Some really cracking bosses, like leader of a Beastmen tribe, the Amal Jar. And he's like got these fire-based spells, obviously, because they're trying to summon a fire-based primal. And now we've just heard about a sort of facility of one of the main armies that are getting attacked by monsters for no reason. They become unusually aggressive. These guys have figured out that there's noises coming from a ceruleum processing plant to the north, which is like a sort of a refining factory. So it's like, that's where we're at. And these guys have also seen evidence that there are Magitech things. So the Ghanaian Empire is likely involved, and you guys are going to be doing sort of spy espionage shit in the next game. But it is a very good thing. And what you get in the box as well is, like I said, you get all of the character sheets and different character sheets for each level up. You get the minis. You get 2 books, which are beautifully illustrated. And also the game mechanics are demonstrated by a cute sort of anime comic, which is pretty cool. You don't get a GM screen, but the box is supposed to be one, which I don't know if I like, but there we go.
Hopefully main game, if it's 160 quid, they're throwing a screen in.
Well,
they are, yeah.
I understand why the box is meant to be one, because of the area of effect tokens, etc. It's handy to have the box out in front of you.
And that's what I've been doing. Yeah, because I use it as a little bin to keep all of the area of effect stuff in. And
so it makes sense, but it would be nice to have a foldable GM screen like we all know.
I would love that, yeah. So that is more or less it. I think if you like a game that really focuses on player tactics and doing cool, big moves every fucking turn, if you like the idea of something like 4E but believe that it was badly executed and that everything was too crunchy, this is a very, very, very fun game. And I've never seen one that promotes tabletop like everyone talking and strategizing more than one like this. But the
best class synergy of any RPG.
There you go. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. But yes, what are your impressions? We'll start with you, James. Do you recommend it? Is it nice?
Yeah. I think, like I mentioned, it's different to your typical role-playing game because it revolves around the skirmish battles and all of that. But as soon as you sit down and you get involved in it, it's really quick to figure out how to play it, and then as everyone's kind of finding their feet, we kind of learn quite quickly how we need to talk to each other about this. Typical role-playing games, you're technically always in the limelight because even though you're contributing to the story and for everyone else, you're always thinking about number one, the cool shit you want to do.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, actually, I know that he's got a really good ability, so I'm going to use this power that will give them an opening to do this, that, and the other, and you work a lot better together. And I think it's potentially going to change the way that we do some role playing in the future.
Yeah, until
it'll be a lot more collaborative.
Some things that huge battles where like you guys need to really work together and pick abilities that synergize with each other. Sean, what do you think?
I think as well. I think like in a very similar way to James, but they've just done a really good job on making it like the game, but really good, and nothing's ever done that before.
I think because it emulates the feel rather than exactly what the game does.
Yeah, definitely. But if Senor Sabatender is not in the next game, I might have to
stop. Don't make deep cut references to the MMO. There's an in-game event at the moment that is basically earning extra currency to get a different currency to get really cool items. And Sean has spent the last week in the Golden Saucer just doing the casino events, trying to get this money to get a mount. And he got it last night. He got this monster called a Goobiu, which is like, I don't know how to describe it, a big lump with little tendrily arms. And for some reason, his mount can sneeze. It doesn't do anything, but Sean was just like, look at this, it can sneeze. I'll show James the screenshots later. But yeah, Senor Sabatender is a cactus man.
He's like a Mexican cactus man. Sabatender is the Japanese name for cactar. So
there you go. Cool. But yeah, that's FF14 TTRPG. It is very, very, very good. It's actually kind of difficult to describe why it's as fun and as good as it is without actually sitting down and playing it. And I found that I was nervous before the first game because I was like, this is so different. I don't know if it's going to work. And when we played it, obviously all my fears were alleviated. I will say this though, the world of Final Fantasy, at least, and the story of Final Fantasy XIV is really, really quite good and worth a play. And what makes it is the classes too. The Dragoon, for example, is very unique in the way that it plays to any other RPG that I've seen, right? So if that appeals to you, but you don't want to play a game that is focused on big like skirmishes and things like this, there is a very, very good supplement called Final Fantasy XIV for D&D 5e by Sorensen Asgard. So if you just want to use the classes in the world, it's really good. And this guy's from the Gilgamesh server on the game. But this puts every class, every race from the game, and there's 22 jobs in the game. So bear that in mind into D&D 5e. And they've even updated it with Dawn Trail, the new expansion. There's the Pictomancer class. And they've even put that in there, so it's pretty fucking good.
Nice.
Is cactar a race?
No, it isn't. Right, that's it for... we're going to have to sort of rush the last bit of the podcast here because my son and wife have just come home and she's very tired. But we're going to do...
Should we do quick fire yes or no sort of closed questions?
Do you like Final Fantasy XIV TTRPG?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Me? Yes. Right, good. Dragon or Blaggin? Let's go.
Roll up, come and play Dragon or Blaggin, a game where you could win big. Under this box, do I have a dragon, a mysterious creature of mythical origin, or is there in fact nothing? Am I blagging? Well, find out now, only £10 a go.
You, sir, come and play the game. Who? Me? Yes, you. Come on, come and play. Dragon or Blaggin? Ha ha!
Got a little item for you here. So the item is we're gonna talk about Final Fantasy XIV things, right?
Yeah.
And I've made up these questions. You've got to try and find out which ones are the dragons, as in they're real, or Blaggin, as in they're not real. But I'll go over each question anyway. So here's the first one. In Final Fantasy XIV, you have a lot of strangely named monsters. Which of these have I made up? Which is not the real one? 1. Downy Dunstan. 2. Prison Pudding. 3. Sandwich. 4. Desert Pedo. 5. Bloated Boggy.
Downy Dunstan.
Well, it's not...
It's not the real.
Not the real. No, that's a blagging.
No, it's the pedo.
Okay, no. Both wrong.
This is a sandwich.
It's Sandwich.
Damn it.
Oh.
Sean,
I thought it was a sandwich,
I sent an image of Downy Dunstan.
Yeah.
Desert Pedo. I think it's supposed to be like a portmanteau of desert and torpedo.
All right, yeah, okay, that makes
But yes,
sense.
Sandwich is not the real one. But there's a lot of weird names. Final Fantasy XIV has a lot of classes which are called jobs within the game. 22, in fact. Which one of these is the real job? Is it Gunomancer, Gunisher, Guncarter, Gunbreaker, or Gunt?
Gunbreaker's the dragon.
What does that mean? Oh no, just say your guess.
Okay, Gunbreaker.
Okay.
Oh, Gunbreaker's the one you think is real.
Yeah.
Say the others again, please.
Gunomancer, Gunisher, Guncarter, or Gunt?
I wish it was Gunisher or Gunt, but I'm going to stick with the same answer Sean gave because it sounds more plausible.
It's Gunbreaker, and they're a tank class that uses guns that are they're also swords.
Oh yeah.
Figure out how that works. In a game as big as Final Fantasy XIV, there's a lot of NPCs, thousands even. So the names get a bit fucking stupid, almost as if the designers had smashed their keyboard with their hands or used a random generator.
It seems like they definitely have used random generators.
Yes. Which one of these is not a real NPC name? 1. Chlunch. 2. Merlwub. 3. Thermalbert. 4. Spurselnerf. 5. I'll come.
That's quite difficult because they all sound legit.
I'll give those again. Chlunch, Merlwib, Thermalbert, Spurselnerf, I'll come.
Spurselnerf.
I really want to say that, but just because it has the word "come" in it, I want to say that.
You wanna go
Although the first one,
Chlunch. Okay, so James, you're going Spurselnerf. No, I'll come. Sean, you're going Spurselnerf.
Yeah, because there's no nerf names in there.
All right, Sean, you are correct. Spurselnerf was the main up one. The character is I'll come is an NPC. It's ILCUM. Very weird.
Probably.
Now, in addition to this, right, there's some dubious items in the game too. It being a Japanese game, some things are badly translated. Some of them are just odd for some unknown reason.
It seems like sometimes they put it into a translation machine, or sometimes
It could be, or one of the people on the team was lesser good at English, like me just then. But the question is, which of these is not the real item in the game? 1. Queer leaflet. 2. Giant donko. 3. Idiot hole. 4. The jigger. 5. Rusty scutum.
It's obviously no, it's the second one.
Giant donko.
Yeah.
James. Queer leaflet. Giant donko. Idiot hole. The jigger. Rusty scutum.
Rusty scutum.
Both wrong. Giant donko is real. Rusty scutum is real. The made up one was idiot hole.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, the last one for the last question. Dungeons. Which of these is not the real dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV? 1. The Anti-Tower. 2. Donkel Flox's Shortstop. 3. The Burn. 4. Hell's Lid. 5. Mount Gulg.
The second one.
Donkel Flox's Shortstop, yeah?
I thought that, but it's too out there, so maybe I'm going to go with the fourth one.
Hell's Lid.
Yeah.
Okay, James, you are correct.
Oh,
Well, but I will say this: I sort of made that one up based on one that exists. There is a dungeon called Brayflox's Long Stop. I don't know.
Right, so it's close.
It's like the second dungeon in the main story.
No, that's Copperbell Mines.
Oh.
Okay,
Nerd.
out nerded. No, but yeah, we did Brayflox's Long Stop recently. It's a goblin dungeon, which is why it's a fucking weird name.
Goblin these nuts.
These nerds.
Yeah, so you guys got some points. Well done, lads.
Good.
Well done, lads.
What does that mean?
Well done.
It means you win bragging rights.
I'm bragging.
But the queer leaflet is an item that they use queer so often because it's written in sort of like a medieval way.
Yeah.
So that's queer. But I love the queer leaflet because there's loads of memes of it, and there's like somebody opening it up, and then it's just got a really gay-looking Final Fantasy XIV character, and it says "Slay Queen."
And I picked it up once, and then I was like to Harrison, I've got the gay leaflet.
Yeah. Right, I've got another item for you. This is a new one, and then we've probably only got time for a couple of questions here, but we'll go on to this new item. I don't have a jingle for it, but so.
Oi!
So what I've done is I've shown my son is 3 years old. Just bear this in mind. I've shown him the covers of some RPG books and asked him to describe them. And I will say there's two main factors that are going to make this very, very difficult. The first one being he really couldn't be bothered to do this. The second one being he wanted to walk away. The third one of the two being that he's 3, so his describing skills are not the best. So you're going to have to really try hard on this one.
Okay.
I'll play them out the speaker, actually. This is the first one. Jesse, the first one. This. Can you tell me what this picture is?
Sad.
It's sad, yeah. And what is it?
A face.
Okay.
What's that?
Good question. So, what RPG is that?
Sad face.
Borg.
No, wrong. That was Low Life. Because it's got the planet with a big sad face on it.
Yeah, of course.
Nice try, but I think you were going along the right lines there. It's definitely a sad game.
Because because it's the dude at the top, isn't it? Yeah.
He's not happy.
No.
Right, so second one.
Lady, that one. That's a lady.
That's a lady.
It's Mandor.
A Mandor.
Lamentations.
Yeah, I was going to say Lamentations.
Right, just bear in mind, I'm probably not going to be showing my son any of the creepy covers, right?
Oh, right.
So I'll give you another guess on that one.
Oh.
So it was lady.
Don't look at the shelf.
Oh.
That's...
There you go. Savage Suede.
Right, James. Savage Suede. We're using boxes to prop these microphones up on, and James just looked at his. It's not an RPG one. It's Taiko no Tatsujin for Switch.
Tatsujin for Switch.
It's not that, is it? You fuck with.
Wait, it's a lady on it. I'm going to say Pathfinder.
Okay, yeah, just sling it
guess.
out there. No, you're both wrong. That was DCC. Because, of course, they're Mandor. It's a door with a face on it, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Mandor.
I thought it was Nandor as in from what we do in the shadows.
All right, next one.
A lady and boy and boy.
Okay. Is that all you want to say?
Yes.
Okay. Don't touch the microphone.
Is that Morse code?
It was Morse code for help.
Right, so...
Lady and boy. I'm going to say...
That'll be Pathfinder, isn't it?
Well, there's a dragon in it. I'm
Sean looks so confident just there.
He'd pick up on the dragon, I'm sure, if he knew.
Oh,
if he
almost
saw
certainly.
It. So it wouldn't be that one. So lady and boy.
It's like a team.
Just bear in mind he's 3, so he's probably wrong about some of the things
It's
he
like a
said.
super team.
Yeah, super team, Sean. Yeah, well done. Super team, yeah. Stop looking at my shelves. That's cheating.
It's not really helping.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff in the way of the books.
Maybe Harry Potter, the Tabletop RPG.
Sean, your guess?
Harry Potter. No.
Just say a guess. Come on, we ain't got all day.
The Isle of Dread.
No, that was Made RPG.
Oh,
and it's not a lady, a boy, and a boy. It's 3 ladies on the front. You just got it wrong. Right, the final one. Let's go. Stop doing that. Right, what do you see on the cover? What's this picture?
Green.
Yeah, it's green. And what's on the green? What's this?
A red.
Yeah, a red.
Plix.
A red Plix. Okay, so
MCC.
All right, that was Vampire the Masquerade. Of course, famously being just a green cover with a picture of a rose on it. So that was his description. So you guys didn't get a single one right.
No. He got us there, mate. Son's a genius.
He is a fucking genius. Yeah, so that was that item.
Thanks.
Did you like it?
Was it nice? Actually.
I mean, I was, to be honest, I was expecting more, but he really, I was like, Jesse, do you want to record something in the podcast? He was like, yeah. And then when we actually started doing it, he just was pressing what do you call it? The muff?
Yeah.
He was pressing
the muff
on the mic, and he was just going, boot, boot, boot. So yeah, and he just wanted to go somewhere else. So that was the best I could get out of him, unfortunately.
That was a good segment. Although we will need a catchy title.
Yeah, I was trying to think of one. What about Somebody Look at This Cover?
Toddler or Squabbler.
Yeah, something like that. Right, should we do some Electro letters?
Yeah,
I'm going to just pick a couple out here because we've got to go. Because my wife, she's really annoyed at me because the recording went over the time, and she's looking after our son, and she got really angry at me when she came in. So well angry. So we'll just do a couple. So first one, Dr. Mumson says, first question, you back for good? Look, we never left. We're always going to come back if there's something interesting for us to talk about, okay?
I thought we made that explicitly.
Yes. What are you fucking talking
whatever
about?
You said, whatever you did.
I didn't mean it.
What's your back?
What's your back for good? Mr. Mouthsores, he asked, this one might take too long, but okay, I sense a theme of interesting. What makes a campaign setting interesting?
Story. Next.
campaign setting. So you get a setting book. You want a story. So you all you want is a novel.
No.
That's a campaign book.
So what makes it interesting? Agency, and also just pick something that's interesting to other people, but agency as well, like in the world, you know.
So you're saying what makes a campaign setting interesting is agency within the world. So the campaign setting interesting is shut up. Is when you sit down at the table, the GM allows you to do whatever you want. That's what makes a campaign setting interesting.
We're more involved in the world, and like the theme,
that's not
the Rippers, for example. Like we had a library.
That's
that
how
was
you.
sick, innit?
That's how you play it.
That's how you play it. That's not the campaign setting.
Yeah, but
the theme of the setting
made us feel the world a bit more, innit? You know what I mean?
No.
We're in the
No.
1800s.
No.
So here's what I think. I think genuinely this is gonna be way too broad, but I think ideas that I don't think I would have come up with by myself. I think like ones that are massively creative and weird is what I like. Like Low Life is a good example where Andy Hopper's just every single aspect that you read on the page either makes you laugh, is funny, is interesting. Like something like that is to me a really, really good campaign setting material.
So basically, like my settings, you know what I'm saying? Like...
If it was written down, yeah, probably, yeah.
Oh yeah, but
and I think that that's what that sort of thing. I mean, it's difficult to quantify, isn't it? But it's like that sort of love, care, and attention into the detail. As long as but I hate that when it's just a fantasy game that's like that, where it details every town. But like.
So, like, compare the old, like, Michael Bay Transformers movies to the new Transformers movie. Like, something like that, for example, you know?
I guess I like things that are creative and weird. I think that's it. Because when I think about my favourite campaign settings, I really like MCC, Low Life, Vampire the Masquerade, Planescape, all the weirdest, most creative ones, I think. Yeah, that's what I like.
Also... oh, no, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Brilliant. James?
Well, I said theme earlier, so I feel like the kind of how the world's described to the players, I think that really helps because it...
So you like consistent theming?
No, not the consistent theming, just how it's portrayed. So obviously it's going to be written in the book, as in like, oh, this is...
I like atmosphere.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
No, I get you, and Rippers is dripping with that, and that's a very good point.
Yeah, so then it allows you to contribute towards the atmosphere and understand that, okay, this is going to be like this, this is going to be tongue-in-cheek, or this is going to be more serious than silly. So
I see what you mean, and then the GM translating that onto the table. I mean, because it does help you get into character more, doesn't it?
That's probably what I wanted to say, like, to be honest. Like, but you said it better.
There's a fucking surprise.
No, but you said it better than I did.
Shut up.
Contributing to the atmosphere.
Well, just...
Shut up. Right, Jason, he says, what's your favourite character? What's your favourite character that you've played? My two are Bard in 13th Age that worked very hard to create the first tuber, and a Pixie Mage / Thief in 2E that picked everyone's pockets almost exclusively to my detriment. So she was obviously picking up like coins from people's pockets, but it would weigh her down and she would just hit the ground. So favourite characters you've played?
Damn, that's difficult.
It is hard, and I've played less than I have GM'd, but favourite characters I've played. I did really enjoy Radiation in the Fallout game. He was very, very fun to play. He was a boxer with gigantism who did his own pyrotechnics for his boxing shows and was in explosives. I mean, that point, you remember when we went into there was like a den of these thieves that we were trying to get in. I just walked in bold as brass, took a pin out of a grenade and just held it there. I was like, all right, lads, time to listen. I've got some things I've got to say otherwise this grenade's getting dropped. And so nobody could do it. I mean, he was very fun, man.
Yeah.
But it was good him being very tough. Huge Yak Man was pretty funny.
What about Little Barrow, the stereotypical northerner?
Yeah, Little Barrow was great, man.
You cheeky bastard.
You, sir, are a cheeky bastard. Yeah, he was my monk from Savage Pathfinder.
I'd say Ruddles for sure. He's right up there,
Yes, mate. So it's James's dwarf barbarian from Sean's Pathfinder campaign, and he kind of became the central linchpin of the whole story. And he was just a cracking character. I mean, what I liked about him is that you played that barbarianism very well in what was essentially a modern setting.
Yeah.
But also I liked how he stuck to his morals, how he was very, very kind, but also didn't like showing emotion. I mean, he was just a cool character. Very, very good. Sean, how about you?
There's probably a few, but I do really enjoy the like sort of rough around the edges sort of like dumb guy. So it's like currently I'm
playing himself.
Nice, yeah.
Rinsed. I do enjoy playing like really autistic.
Yeah, like, that'd be quite smart then, wouldn't it?
Not all of them are.
No. Like it's a guy I married at first sight, but like.
Oh, that guy, man.
But no, yeah, like I like playing Sledge McWild, innit? Because he's
You know, this is one of the things I was going to bring up during this episode if we had more time. But I actually think this, because Sledge was a pre-gen from Shadowrun that you ended up making your own.
Yeah.
And I've had such good, well, I think you guys have had such good success with starting a campaign, not a one-shot, but a campaign from a pre-gen. Because it's almost like you just pick it up, you get, and your characters are defined by what they do. They're not defined by anything before you started the game.
Yeah.
And as we go along, like I feel like I'm learning about your character Bagwist, James, at the same time that you are.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of getting into the character and thinking, oh, well, maybe he'd do this in this situation. And then it's what he does defines him. And I actually think Sledge is an all-time legendary character, right? And I feel like your character that you're playing at the table at the moment, James, is like every time I see him, like, and I learn more about him, I'm really enjoying it, but it's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think,
so there's not a predefined like narrative behind the character yet.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Well, no, at all.
Everything happens from the moment you start seeing them.
Yeah, that's why I like to say I'll keep it short, but the campaign at work, basically, me and my mate pre-genned each other's characters, so we didn't know what we got, and we just handed it to each other, and then I was like, yeah, that's fine.
That's a great idea. Maybe starting a campaign off like that is a great idea because Sledge, he did become a legend. And even in that campaign, we had the other guy who ran for president, who was fucking great. We had Hardpoint, which was Tobuscus's character, who, you know, is Cy Thatcher. This guy plays the same character like 10 times. I don't know why I'm whispering, but it's good.
Yeah,
I don't think it's as legendary as he thinks it is. No, it's like, right, it's time to bring back Cy Thatcher, and we're like,
because he's a 5e man.
Yeah.
That's why. Because they always bring back their characters. They always build the same character. And
is that right? Yeah.
That's what 5e people do always.
And fair, I'm guilty.
Well, then that makes sense.
I'm a bit guilty for resurrecting Sledge.
So, actually, we're going to have... Yeah, but he's good, though. As is Cy Thatcher. So, Sean, we got 2 questions for you, actually, real quick.
Yes.
These ones will be quick ones. Sean, what's your newest thing? This comes in from Dr. Mumpson. He says, this is a question just for Sean. What's your newest thing?
What's my newest thing?
Like your thing at the minute.
Yeah,
what's
like,
your newest thing at the minute?
I don't know, like playing Final Fantasy 14 all day, I guess.
Yeah, and what do you play that on?
My new PC. Oh, is that? Oh, do you mean property? Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily. You can interpret this how you want, but
I've got a really nice new PC. I got myself a nice new computer. Yeah.
Well, and it's got a wooden panel on the front. What do you call the computer?
Woodbine.
What about what's your food at the minute? Your newest thing in food?
Food. So I make these like wraps and panadas.
Nice.
Quite enjoying that.
Vegan or not vegan? Got real cheese in it? Yeah, thought so.
Vegan cheese.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
He loves
I'll
dairy.
take a picture
he
of my
bought.
cheese.
He bought.
Put it on the Discord.
Shut up for a minute. He bought a wrap, a tortilla crimper from Amazon.
I did. Just changed my life.
That's all he eats.
There you go. That's the newest thing.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
The other one is mainly for us, but it's about Sean. Mr. Mouthsore says, shut up. One of Sean's conspiracy theories you might actually think might be true.
They're all like purposefully a bit.
There is one about 2 people that died in our town, but I can't really talk about that. But Sean has a conspiracy theory about that.
What about Chandler? What about him though? Chandler.
Chandler, what about him dying because he was a drug addict? That was dumb as shit.
I mean, he's just drug
What
addict.
about the supersized me McDonald's theory?
That was the dumbest one I've ever heard in my fucking life. Do you know what? I don't think there's a single one that I believe is true. But I say my favourite is when Sean thought that Tony Blair was an alien wearing a rubber suit at the man.
Just because he has a weird face and big ears.
That was one of the great ones. Yeah.
No, my favourite one was when Sean said he could turn into Sonic.
Oh. No, we got to mention that. Sean, when it Sean,
cut.
You were young.
but he also his antics. But so Sean, when he was, what were you like, about 7, right?
Young.
He believed.
6.
No.
He believed.
I didn't believe it.
He did. He believed it. He used to say to people that he could transform into Sonic at night.
Why?
Now you definitely look how embarrassed he looks. Look how embarrassed he looks. He thought he could transform into Sonic at night, and he
looks more like Knuckles now with how red he is.
That's right. And he used to say this, and I was like, no, you can't. And Sean was like, yes, I can. I'm fucking amazing. Every night I go out there and I defeat Robotnik, and he actually thought this. I think that's why when we were talking about on an earlier episode about who of us could possibly have been a furry, it was definitely you. Yeah. And I think if we hadn't have mocked you about the Sonic, if we hadn't have mocked you about the Sonic thing, you definitely would have been a furry by this point.
I'm too manly to be.
But do you know what the sad thing is, right? I disbelieved him. And me being Sean's younger brother, there was a point where I was actually not the alpha in Sean and I's brother relationship, where Sean was older than me, and I looked up to him. Can you believe that? But anyway, point is, Sean said, yes, I do fucking transform into Sonic. Go out there tonight at midnight and you'll see me running around. So me being 4 years old, I went out there on my own. Do you remember that?
Did you actually?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know.
Mum and Dad were furious at you because you told your 4-year-old brother to go outside at midnight. I could have been abducted.
Yeah, that's fair. Like that.
That's a really weird story, isn't it?
I'm glad that they told me off.
Guy thinks he can be Sonic. Child walks out onto the street.
So Sean was 8 then.
Can we cut this?
That is a mental story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mental.
So yeah, you would have been 8.
Look,
you were 8. That's way too old, bruv.
I made mistakes. All right.
No, it's cute.
It's quite sweet. Apart from the bit where I nearly got killed in that.
Killed.
Right, we've got a bunch of other questions. We'll save them for the next one. Thank you very much, everyone, for sending them in. But as I mentioned earlier, my wife's really angry at me. I guarantee you, when we go out there in a minute, she's going to be so fucking angry. You should have seen the way she threw down her stuff when
we
she
cut the Sonic bit though.
No, fuck you, it's staying in. That's the best bit of content on this episode because we got really serious during the main subject. But FF14 is a fucking good game, man. The TTRPG. Give it a play. Let's do an outro.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Get in your car, dude.
Get in your car!
I'm in my car.
That's fair.
Can you get in your car?
Right, James, today you're going to go and see Dream Theater. She sounds happy. So you're going to go and see Dream Theater. So I thought now, could you, using your voice, do a bit of Dance of Eternity?
Yeah.
So if you want to see that for how much does this gig end up costing you, mate?
Like millions pounds, mate.
So James, I know we just said earlier not to mention money, but James, so you spent 115 quid each on 2 tickets.
Yep.
And then you got now you got a ticket in the VIP box.
Yep.
How much that?
How much is that?
Yeah.
That's free, mate.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough then. Yeah. So really, even if you lose the original tickets, it still works out quite nicely.
Yeah.
Do you get to meet Dream Theater?
No.
Are you going to meet John Miold?
No, I want to meet John Miold.
Nice.
Back to the past.
Right, so if you want to email us, 3trpgpod@gmail.com, and of course the Discord link is going to be in the description for this episode. That's where we take all of your questions and take all of your virginities. And also, Sean.
Have we got...
can people add you on Facebook?
No.
Just look up Sean Hunt.
Why are you doxing me on...
Sean's Hunt's address.
Have we got time?
Reigate.
Have we got time to? Have we got time to like chat about the new Transformers movie?
No.
Why do you care?
It's a good film.
What? Yeah. Sean, you've changed.
It's the animated film, isn't it? It's a good film. It's actually good. It's really.
It's
cool.
not good.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's really not good.
Look it up on IMDb.
Look it up on IMDb if you don't believe me. 7.8 out of 10.
There you go. Thank you.
Right then, thank you very much for listening. Sorry we had to rush. Sorry we had to rush at the end there, but basically I'm going to be getting a bollocking all afternoon.
He's going to get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah,
he's going to get murdered.
I'm going to get fucking murdered, fam.
See you later. Never again.